From LALATE News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is the Midday Report on LALATE.
Minutes ago, the press secretary answered a series of questions about your fourth stimulus package. And one of the questions was, would the president break up the fourth stimulus package into two bills? Remember, the fourth stimulus check and fourth stimulus package already is a breakup of another bill. It was supposed to be one cohesive part, and now there's fourth and fifth stimulus, the fifth in the fall. So are they breaking up the fourth stimulus into 4A and 4B? What's going on here? In this recording, I show you the latest breaking details on the White House. And is the president talking about climate next week? Yes, he is. And is he talking about bipartisanship, or is he talking about reconciliation? I'll have new video from the White House just in minutes ago from that press briefing, and you're going to be shocked about the responses. Questions about what's going on in fourth stimulus and what's going on with climate. Meantime, great news across the board. As fourth stimulus checks, monthly stimulus checks, becomes front page news today in a major financial news outlet, and this comes on the push from a major urban institute that says you need fourth stimulus to restore confidence in this economy. I have all the big breaking details as a noontime kicks into big feet and big hoofs and big excitement. It's a big day starting right now as noontime LALATE kicks into gear this morning, and noontime starting right now. Hey, good noontime, everybody. How are you? The President of the United States is debating whether to modify the fourth stimulus package into two bills. Meantime, there's a push to modify that even further. You know, everyone's modifying something. You know, it's just modifying Monday. No, it's not Monday, it's Friday. It's just, everything's getting modified. In this recording, I'm going to break down what's getting modified for fourth stimulus, what's not getting modified, who's pushing who, and who's pushing who. And I'll make it easy, breezy, and simple, and lighthearted, and I'll also answer some of your questions in the live chat right now. Hope you're good. It's Friday afternoon, and this is Noontime LA. The President of the United States got a series of questions from his press secretary at noontime today, asking whether or not he will break the fourth stimulus check into two bills. I'll have that answer for you in just a second. But first, if you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Also, like this video. That's your 3,000 likes. If you've not become a member, consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Casino VIP. It's our 1-year anniversary later this month on April 25th, so give us a subscribe. Yesterday, we heard the first time about changes to the fourth stimulus package. In this recording, I'm going to go over these narratives about changing fourth stimulus. It has nothing to do with your stimulus check. No one is changing your stimulus check. No one is getting rid of their push for their stimulus check. It's talking about the other items around it. And it's important for you to know, I'm not hiding the ball on this video whatsoever, putting it front and center, that the items that people want to change have nothing to do with your stimulus check. That's all the great news. So I want you to know that people want to modify things, but those modifications don't have anything to do with the stimulus check. I can ease your concern. Second, the fact that there are modifications does not mean it's not happening. It just means there's modifications. Number three, the fact that there are modifications, does that mean that there's something about reconciliation at play? Maybe. I'll analyze that with you in a second. Let's go over the first modification that heated up yesterday. Yesterday, a group, and I gotta say the term loosely, group, because it's unclear if this is less than 4 people. It is a very, very small group of people. It's like a threesome or a foursome. It's not even, it's not even a half-court basketball team. It's a very small group of people who claim to be both Republicans and Democrats, proposed something called the SALT Caucus. The SALT caucus was a little too salty for some people, but the SALT caucus proposed to say the following yesterday. They said, don't bring us the forced stimulus package unless there's something in there for us SALT caucus people. Do they have the ability to say that? My answer for you, no. Here's what you need to know. The SALT caucus event, before I even go to the detail, is much of nothing because, first of all, there's enough Democrats in control of the House, and the margin of control of Democrats in the House is large enough that even if you lost a few of these salty people, you see how this video is going. Even if you lost a little bit of the saltiness, you still have enough to make this delicious for you. So don't worry about those salty people. So who are these salty people? They're the problem creators. I can't make this stuff up. It's the problem creators. Yes, the problem creators are back in 2021 with a new name. They're going back on tour. It's sort of like, Bruno Mars. He wants to change his name as Slick. What is it? I can't remember. What is that name that Bruno Mars goes by now with that new song? Leave the door open, leave the... He's referring to the House of Representatives, the Senate, by the way, when he says leave the door open. He's like, leave the door open for extra stimulus checks. You'll be late. I'll have the door open. There'll be extra stimulus checks. That's what the lyrics of the song is really about. But the salty group says that we won't support the forced stimulus unless we have our saltiness in there. Who cares? I mean, who cares? They don't have enough control of the House. They're barely even a half-court basketball team. And you don't even need a single salty member to get the bill passed. So why am I covering it? So you know that salty people are not your worry. Actually, high sodium is a concern for you, so maybe that's on another channel. But this is not the dietary channel for today. So salty people, not your worry. Then came the president, and the president was asked a series of questions today by his press secretary. There's not one, not two, but 3 videos for the president's team answering questions about forced stimulus. Let me queue up one at a time. I believe the first one I'm going to show you is the video asking about whether the president would break up the forced stimulus into 2 provisions. I think I have that video teed up first. Let's listen in and see the exchange.
Perhaps the possibility of splitting up the infrastructure bill, but just yesterday, one of the...
Yes, so this is the video where the reporter asks, would the president split up the forced stimulus package? Let's listen into the exchange.
President's allies on Capitol Hill, Senator Chris Coons, really floated the idea of splitting it between, just a traditional roads and bridges infrastructure package and then another one with everything else in the American Jobs Plan. Is that something that the White House is seriously considering?
Now, before we even get to the answer, I have a problem with the question. I mean, the question, I don't even understand the question. Do you understand the question? I don't understand the question. Here's why I don't understand the question. Her question says, splitting it up into 2 parts. First, infrastructure and everything else that's not traditional. What is she referring to? I don't know what she's referring to. Maybe you know what she's referring to. Drop in the comments if you know what that question's referring to. She says infrastructure in the first part and everything non-traditional in the second part. One of the ways to guess is what she's referring to. She's saying climate in the second bill and infrastructure in the first bill. Maybe that's what she's referring to. I don't think that's what she's referring to because the White House is nodding saying, yeah, climate is not infrastructure. No, I don't think that's what the White House would agree with. So I think she's referring to something else in the second part of the bill that is an extra item that we have never heard of before. What do you think? Too much salt is inflammation. It says Diane. Let's listen to this question again from this reporter because I don't even understand the question. Apparently, the White House understands the question because they've been working on the bill, the proposal, not showing it up to us. But they think there's a non-traditional part of the bill. Let's listen into this exchange once again and let's hear that question again.
The reporting from my colleague. Have you?
Oh yeah. Sorry, we have a new friend, another friend today. But yes.
What does it say with the
of that in government or out of government on forums or
infrastructure bill, but just yesterday, one of the president's allies on Capitol Hill, Senator Chris Coons, really floated the idea of splitting it between, just a traditional roads and bridges infrastructure package and then another one with everything else in the American Jobs Plan. Is that
everything else in the American Jobs Plan? I have no clue. Bonita says no clue. I have no clue. What is everything else? I have no idea what this reporter is asking. And what's strange is that the White House does know what she's asking. I have no idea what she's asking. Let's
Something
listen.
that the White House is seriously considering?
I would say that the president's going to have a bipartisan meeting next week and a number of meetings next week where the jobs plan is going to be central to that. There are a lot of proposals floating around there. One of them is from Senator Coons, who of course is a close ally of the president, but there are a lot of different proposals out there. So he is very open to hearing different ideas, hearing different ways to get these big ideas he's put forward, this historic investment to modernize our infrastructure, create millions of jobs forward. The mechanisms for that, the construction of it, the pieces that it could flow through, he's very open to what that looks like.
Alicia says, who knows what she means? Sandy says, I need to listen so I know what's going on. Well, now that you've heard the video, what do you think's going on? I have no idea I've heard the video. I still have no idea what's going on. Let me recap what the reporters exchange and what the president's press secretary's response was. Split it up into infrastructure first and then everything else. Oh, what's everything else? And it sounds like everything else is jobs, that you're going to fix the highways in the first bill, you're going to give money to highways, and then you're going to have jobs in the second bill. Well, I thought that's the concept of the bill, is that you fix the highway by giving a person a job to fix. I mean, the highway's not going to fix itself. It's like, here's $20 million for a highway. Who's going to go fix it? We'll do that in another bill. Who's going to fix it? Here's just some money for the highway. It's just the money's going to sit in the bank, and the highway's going to be falling in the ground. It doesn't make any sense. It's just very peculiar. But it's the White House. It's Congress. So is this going to happen? No. It's a proposal. And the reason why I wanted to show this video to you is to show to you what I don't think is going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. The president has no reason to split up something that has already been split up. Let me recap for you. If you do not recall, because I haven't said it in a couple of weeks, the fourth stimulus bill is actually the fourth and the fifth, now split to fourth and fifth. Fourth and fifth was supposed to be the Recovery Act. It was supposed to be infrastructure and then families. And it was all supposed to be this behemoth of nearly $7 trillion. Somewhere along the line in the last month or two, they decided to say, you know what, we'll do fourth stimulus now before July, and we'll do fifth stimulus in September. Now, Senator Coons says, you know what, let's do half a fourth stimulus now and half a fourth stimulus later, and then we'll do fifth stimulus. I mean, just get stuff done, folks. It's just, I never see a bunch of people who can't get stuff done. Just get it done. Here's why you don't want things splitting up, for obvious reasons. First, where the stimulus check's going to go. Going to go in the first half, going to go in the second half. That's the obvious thing you're going to hear across the board. Second, you don't want anything split up, because every time you split up, you use up an extra reconciliation. Yeah, Chuck Schumer did win a reconciliation this week, but you don't want to keep on using up reconciliations to keep on splitting things up. Additionally, the big issue is timing. July is the big issue for you for those monthly stimulus checks. Let's go right to those monthly stimulus checks right now and understand the money at issue and when the money would start to roll out. It's important to understand that the faster you get these stimulus checks, the faster you get money. And that every week that passes that you don't get stimulus checks, that is more money you're not getting across the board. Let me show you that graphic. Maybe I split the graphic. No, I didn't split the graphic. We're splitting everything today. Less salt. Here you go. July, you need this bill done. Leader Schumer, Speaker Pelosi, said that the fourth stimulus package, not split, not salty, low salt, just perfect, would land and get voted upon and be done by July. And that's what you want to do. I mean, every month costs you a stimulus check. The obvious thing about this is every month costs you a stimulus check. Can they get this done sooner? Certainly. Selfie2005 says it's procrastination. 100%. It is procrastination. They shouldn't be waiting around to do something a little bit later and later. Their job is to work. Get to work already. Stop being so salty and, speed up your work. You want this bill to get done sooner than later. Look at the schedule. If they got it done in June, then checks would go out in July. If they don't get it done in July, God knows then when. Then they would get to in September. You don't want this bill to roll out in September. Cindy says, I don't know, but first forced stimulus needs to be the reconciliation. First part of the forced stimulus, push, purple power. Absolutely. I don't know where Senator Coons is coming from. Maybe he's coming from his own mindset, but he is not in the majority. The majority is the following. Over 100 plus House members want monthly stimulus checks to go out ASAP. They don't want to do what Senator Coons wants, and they don't want to do what the salty people want to do. I don't know what to call them. The salty people, the salty folks. Those House members want stimulus checks to go out ASAP, immediately, and to continue for 1 year, which would be about 18 months of checks. Those 21 of 50 Democratic senators who are the leaders of the Democratic Party want those stimulus checks to go out immediately and to go to the end of December. Let's look at who are the movers and shakers. The House members are junior members of Congress, and the senators are the leaders of the Democratic Party. The amounts at issue, House members want them $2,000 the first month, $1,000 every month thereafter. The senators haven't said the amount, but word on the street is they want to pay at $2,000 a month or $1,400 a month. Why is it so hard to get one's job done, says Norman. Very well said, Norman. I mean, I am so tired of congressional leaders saying, I just have too much work to do. I got to go on vacation. I mean, come on already. Just get it done. Who are you, Nancy? Lorenzo says, who are you, Nancy? Yeah, it's just, it's just laziness. Get it done. I mean, get it done. Get to work. Linda says, yes, please, Congress, get to work. Sandy says, agreed. Absolutely, get to work. I mean, I do like Senator Coons. He's a nice guy, but it's, come on, get to work. The reason why you want them to get to work is because economic data is working against you. The more economic rebounding of this economy, the less people may give you stimulus in a few months. Now, the president has some other videos, which I'm going to show to you in a second. But so far, I hope you are up to date in understanding what I'm showing you. Let me recap where we are so far. Nothing to worry about. This does not mean you're not getting forced stimulus. This does not mean this is happening. This does not mean anything. What I do in videos is I try to inform you about chatter that is floating around the situation that we're covering on this channel, so that when you hear the chatter somewhere else, you're like, I already know that thing. That's nothing to worry about. He has already explained to me, LA, who the salty people are. It's the Salt Caucus. There's very few of them. They do not determine the legislative path for any bills in the Congress. They're too small a group. They cannot block a bill. They could say they want to do anything they want to do, but they don't have enough supporters to block bills. That's what they said yesterday. We're not gonna do it and do it. Well, who are you? You barely have 5 people on your team. You barely are a half-court basketball team. There are more people working on Nancy's hair than you. So it's nothing to worry about. Second, Senator Coons wants to split the bill into 2 parts. Thank you, Senator Coons. There's a waiting room over there. There's a suggestion box in the corner. You can drop your little suggestion in the box. Now, we're going to get to the suggestion box. So suggestion box from Senator Coons, split the bill. Okay, we're not going to do that. Thank you so much. So I don't know why people do this all the time other than to get the book deal. If you've been with me for a while, you remember that as soon as something gets further down the pipeline and is getting closer to getting worked on, then people sort of come forward and say, I have a counter proposal. Showtime. Remember how Mitt Romney would do that all the time? That suddenly we're just about to vote on a bill. He's like, oh, you know what? I debut a major counter proposal. Wait a second, we've been working on this thing for 4 weeks. Where have you been? Now, the difference here is we're not at the final vote. We don't actually have the bill. But this is what congressional leaders sometimes like to do, is they sometimes like to just sort of show up at the 11th hour and say, I got something else for you. So what else do I have for you? I have something else for you right now. Another video from the White House talking about what the president's doing Next week for forced stimulus, let's listen in. Oh boy. Is this in the suggestion box or no? Let's listen in.
President's support of the House bills, but right now it just doesn't seem like you guys have those votes in the Senate. But we've heard from some Republican senators a willingness to work on a more limited package around background checks. So why not pitch something a little bit more limited, try to get something across the finish line? Is the president willing to engage on a more targeted background check bill?
Okay, let me explain what you're watching here. This is not forced stimulus. This is gun legislation. But the question is, why doesn't the president go middle road on his proposals so he can bring more Republicans in? And when he can't, why does he just default to executive orders? It's a very good question for purpose of forced stimulus. It basically says, why not do more conciliatory items that may be bipartisan? You don't want him to do that because that doesn't give you stimulus checks. Let's listen to this relatively heated exchange between the reporter and the White House press secretary about executive orders. I don't think I've seen something this heated in a while. Watch this.
I would say that I would punt that question back to the Republicans who are not supportive of universal background checks or an extension of that, which 80% of the public supports. So our question to them would be, why don't you support what the vast majority of your own constituents support? And this is an expansion of background checks, which prevents guns getting into the hands of people who should not have them. So that's where I would punt you.
And you're saying that the executive actions the president took on gun safety were initial steps. You said you used that phrase over and over.
Yep.
So what's next? Give us some preview of what other executive actions you guys are considering, because otherwise it's just passing the buck to Capitol Hill.
Really interesting exchange where the reporter is basically saying, you know, if you can't get things done, are you just going to keep on doing executive order after executive order? Let's listen in. This is huge for purposes of stimulus.
I think it's hardly that. And again, I would say the president has been working on these issues throughout his career for decades. He helped get the assault weapons ban passed. He helped get background checks passed as a part of the Brady bill. He helped lead the effort to get 24 executive actions in place when he was vice president and just took actions on his own. There is a responsibility and a role for the Senate to play. There's a separation of powers here, and also he's looking forward to signing that legislation. So I would say that advocates should pressure Republicans in the Senate, that all of you should pressure Republicans in the Senate and ask them why they are opposing universal background checks when the vast majority of the American public supports it.
Now, this is a very, very interesting exchange between the press secretary. It means everything for your forced stimulus. And it actually mirrors Mornings LA Today. Mornings LA Today and Evenings LA last night, I explained to viewers that the president is not the legislator. He is head of the executive branch. He is a former legislator. He is a former senator, but he does not write laws. He does not write bills. He does not draft bills. He makes proposals. Ultimately, the person who writes bills is the Speaker of the House. She sends it to subcommittees. They make modifications. They call it for vote. Then it goes to the Senate. And so this exchange is great because the press secretary is saying, you know, the president doesn't write bills. It's the job of Congress to write bills. And this is huge for stimulus. Let me explain. The president wants to do something for infrastructure and climate. He does not want to give you a stimulus check, or at least he does not mention he wants to give you a stimulus check. It's not that he's opposed to it. He doesn't mention it. But he's not writing the bill. In fact, he hasn't written the bill. In fact, he'll never write the forced stimulus bill. It will be written by the Speaker. Let me explain how this works. Step one will be the Speaker will tell her subcommittees to draft a reconciliation bill. It's just a procedural bill that has no substance in it. It goes then to the vote on the House floor. They agree to do reconciliation. Then it goes over to the Senate. They agree to do reconciliation. Then it goes to the president. He signs it. That's the tow truck. The tow truck at that point has passed over the finish line. Then step two is the tow truck goes back over to the House to pick up the tow hitch. What's the tow hitch? It's step two. At step two, Nancy decides what she wants to put onto the tow hitch. Well, she at that point takes the president's proposal. Roads, bridges, water, internet, puts it onto the tow hitch. She puts everything the president proposes to put in the tow hitch, but she adds her other items. For example, she may want to put in $20 million for a foreign country, like she did in 2020, or $30 million for Department of Copyrights, or salary raises for another department. She did that in 2020. It's her prerogative. She's a legislator. Goes to subcommittees, they come out of voting, then it goes to the floor of the House, it calls for a vote, passes, then over to the Senate. When it's at the Senate, then during a 2-day event called a vote-a-rama, they call the bill for a vote. During those 48 hours, any senator can propose an amendment to the bill. Now, what's important for me to detail for you, because I don't think I've made it very clear over the last few days, is that the vote-a-rama is not impromptu. It's not ad hoc. It's not off the cuff. It's not impromptu like how I do LA Late Night with Sir Lloyd. It's not like an impromptu delivery. They literally prepare those amendments weeks and months ahead of time. They don't tell you. They meet privately and among their friends to see who would vote in favor of it. They don't tell the Republicans. They have a timing about when they're going to do it and everywhere. This time around, you hear from them that 21 of 50 want to do the vote because they wrote a letter. Don't be surprised if all 50 have already been caucusing about the monthly stimulus checks. That's how they do a vote-a-rama. So this exchange from the White House was very important for you to understand that the president is the executive branch leader. He is not head of the legislature. Let's go back to that graphic on the stimulus checks so we see again the money at issue. When the bill gets to the Senate, that vote-a-rama is the 11th hour. It literally is the 11th hour of this entire process. So one viewer asked me, when would we actually see how much the senators want to give us? We understand the House members want to give us $1,000, $2,000 the first month and $1,000 thereafter, and they want to pay us that over 18 months. We understand that over pandemic plus 1 year, which is at least 18 months at this point. When do we learn how much the senators want to give us? Even though word on the street is $1,200 or, $1,400 or $2,000. We don't know it until the very last minute. And that's what's important to note. Meantime, another new video for the White House. Early in the exchange, she answered some other questions. Guess what she answered? Climate. She said next week the president's going to do a lot about climate. Oh boy. Let's listen in.
And the state of vaccinations. And of course, at the end of the week, the president will participate in the virtual Leaders Summit on climate. I wanted to just outline a little bit on that, which I know is of great interest to many of you. The president wanted to convene the summit early in his presidency to ensure close coordination with key players in the international community and at the highest levels of government. Obviously, the United States is one of the world's largest emitters, but so are a number of countries who will be represented by leaders next week. It's aimed at setting the world up for success on multiple fronts as we work to address the climate crisis, including emissions reductions, finance, innovation and job creation, resilience and adaptation. The summit will convene the world's major economies and other key voices. As we've noted, 40 leaders have been invited to galvanize efforts to keep the vital goal of limiting global warming, and we know that objective is within reach. During the summit, leaders will also discuss mobilizing public and private sector financing to drive the net zero transition and to help vulnerable countries cope with climate impacts.
Well, you get the point. A lot about climate. Climate and more climate and climate as well. Let me answer some of your great questions, which I saw during the live chat. And if you have more questions, drop them in the comments right now. First, someone asked me, when is rent and mortgage assistance going to land? What happened just minutes ago before this broadcast, a new news report came out that said that for reasons no one really knows, second stimulus, not third stimulus, second stimulus, December stimulus, so as opposed to pay money for rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, also homeowners assistance like homeowner utility bills, has not landed in some of the states. There's a new graphic out that shows all the states and shows a lot of states have still not got to that money from the federal government. It's really unclear why. The same report said that in May is when all the states are going live with the money they got from the federal government under third stimulus for rent, utilities, mortgage assistance as well. It's very contradictory because the graphic also shows that some states already have the third stimulus money. I've had a lot of viewers say, I'm in my state, I can't find the third stimulus money. I've seen generally that the third stimulus money for rent, utilities, mortgages is not there. The graphic seems to suggest that it might be there for second stimulus, but not there for third. Again, third is likely to come in May. But there is a lot of states where they are very behind. One of them is Florida. Florida, which one of the viewers sent me a series of very nice comments and questions. He is a member as well. Said, you've seen anything from Florida? No, it's actually appearing on the graphic as unknown. Not my graphic, but the new graphic released today. They don't know what's going on in Florida. California does have money, at least for second or third stimulus. Meantime, EIDL grants are being paid. If you haven't gotten that EIDL grant, guess what? There's two exclusive bombshells I can tell you. First, if you're waiting for the remainder of the $10,000 EIDL grant, it's coming in that email invite, and they're not coming in chronological order. They're going first for just randomness, not for where you're located or anything, just complete randomness. The second exclusive I can tell you is that if you did get it and you responded in the month of February, they're stuck in a vortex. Oh, goodness. Can you imagine? Another flashback from 2020. People who applied to that EIDL grant advance email in the month of February, you're stuck in a vortex. The only difference is this time SBA knows about it. The student loan debt forgiveness, no news yet about that from Miguel Cardona. We've been waiting across the board. So I saw that question as well. That's a great question. And it's important to understand, oh, someone has an anniversary. Happy anniversary, Kim. Very exciting, great news. I saw another question. Someone asked, it was a great question. Do we know anything about another round of third stimulus today? Great question. We won't know if there is another third round of stimulus until tomorrow morning. If you go to the irs.gov tool tomorrow morning and it suddenly shows you have a stimulus check pending, or you get an alert from your bank, then then send me a DM on social media. I have not yet seen that. This week on Wednesday, 2 million checks were sent out to people who don't file tax returns and people who did not do a non-filing tool. That included only 300,000 of veterans. The remainder were just everyone else. Those 50% of those went by direct deposit. 50% went by mail. The mail checks for March 26 are still actually showing up. They're 3 weeks late at the moment. So don't worry about that. It's just very late. But if you do receive a notification over the weekend, please tell me. Remember, NetSpend, MetaBank, Cash App, Chime are among those that, and Green Dot are among those that would release the funds tomorrow if they do get them tonight on a new round. If there is a new round of stimulus checks unpaid from third stimulus checks tonight. And then everyone else, like Direct Express by Comerica, it would post next Wednesday. Great question. And I really appreciate that viewer for dropping that question. It's a very good question. And I always try to keep people up to date. Someone's having a birthday. Oh, happy birthday, Colleen. Big birthday wishes. Student loan debt forgiveness, Alicia. Is that a dream? It's not a dream. It's a reality. We're just waiting for Miguel Cardona to come in with a determination. Absolutely. Jim. Oh, Jim, so I got the invite, but I'm not in a low-income-based community. So yes, they're doing the low-income-based community first, and then they're doing the non-low-income-based community after that. If you have other questions like that, drop in the comments. Really great question. Let me give the big update where we are now at noontime, LALATE, and what happened in this recording. In this recording, I did something which I haven't done over the last few days, which showed you the proposals or the chatter of alternative ideas for forced stimulus. And I showed you that none of these are going to see light of day. I wanted you to know what they are and know that you know what they're called so that you know that it's nothing for you to even spend a breath worrying about. The first one was the SALT movement. A SALT caucus, which is more like 3 people, very salty people, met yesterday and said, we're not going to do it unless you do what we want. They are too small in numbers to cause any concern. They're not senators, they're House members, and the Democrats have enough leadership of in numbers in the House to get it passed without the South Caucus involved. Then you saw a video from the White House today where Chris Coons, senator, a friend of the president, said that maybe we should split the fourth stimulus into two bills. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen from this president, and it's not going to happen from Leader Schumer. Leader Schumer has been plotting quietly, progressively, and slowly to ensure that he has recon after recon to get things done. He's not going to use up his recons that he's been pushing to get from the Senate parliamentarian because Chris Coons wants to do things slowly over time. That's not going to happen. That recon and that push needs to get the bill to the Senate by June so that the vote is in July. What you did hear in this video, the only thing that you should be of alert on that you did hear in this video is that the press secretary said next week the president's going to meet for a bipartisan meetings about fourth stimulus. Purple Power, you need to push. This needs to go by recon. Every week that goes on and the bill doesn't say, you know what, it's time to do recon, you need to get it going. Later on afternoons, LA, in 2 hours from now, which is coming up shortly, I'm going to be going over the new financial data that came in from two banks that reported earnings today, blowout earnings. It shows that fourth stimulus needs to get done. Currently, fourth stimulus is the #1 search story on a major financial news net channel. Suddenly, the coverage of this channel, which is leading the net, this channel is leading the net on coverage of fourth stimulus. No one else is blowing up the subject more than you and me on this channel. Suddenly is now getting the attention of broadcast media, making fourth stimulus their #1 story on that channel today. And this is as news that it would lift 6.6 million people out of poverty. I'll be covering all those details and more coming up later on LALATE. Let me show you today's programming schedule. I'm back with you in 2 hours from now with afternoons LALATE at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is 1 o'clock on the West Coast, 3 o'clock Midwest time. So in 2 hours from now, I'm back with you for afternoons LALATE, the first afternoons LALATE. Then 2 hours after that is another afternoon's LALATE. And then we go into evenings LA, and finally the late night laugher, the irreverent and fun Jovita Late versus Sirloin of late night tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, Janet, for the dancing bear. I really appreciate it. And I also really appreciate you joining me on Noontime LA. Thank you for all the love and the great questions. If you miss this recording live and you watch a tape, join me on the next live show, which is in 2 hours from now. I'll answer your questions then as well. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. It's our 1 year anniversary at the end of this month, April 25th. I want you to help us get to 400,000 subscribers. Also, like this video. 3,000 likes. It really helps in the algorithm rankings. And consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP, so you see new bills as soon as they hit, like Senator Ron Wyden's new bill for $6,000 of stimulus, which I delivered this week. Stay informed, stay focused, and I'll see you back in 2 hours from now as Afternoons LA starts.